bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. That means hello, though. It doesn't actually mean welcome. Welcome to Clever Orbits. I am Louis Brandmeier here with Richard Futrell and Tyler Brandmeier. Today we are discussing the most recent episode, chronologically from our experience in the time continuum, of Star Trek Discovery, and that episode was titled The Wolf Within. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm
great.
You both answered at the exact same moment. That's fine. We heard you both. All right. So what were you guys' thoughts on this episode? I'd say I kind of liked it. It was decent. It was solid. Might not have been the best, but it was okay. How about you guys?
I think it had a lot of good parts. Overall, I feel like it's sort of connective tissue between plot points, and I'm not sure what the point of this episode in particular was, but it had a lot of fun stuff inside of it.
Agreed.
Yeah, like an Oreo.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of processed sugar. I don't know if this had a lot of processed sugar.
Had a lot of processed dialogue. Oh!
Yeah?
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Lines like, you remind me of everything good, of what I want my world to look like. I actually thought that was beautiful, honestly. I really loved it in context, and then the sound of it. It was very good. Yeah, and the delivery. And the fact that she was actually... they're in this mirror universe. I mean, it's actually really beautiful, the whole setup. She has him for her tether, so to speak, and he has her in a more interesting way. And so some people would like to argue that love is sappy as an excuse for him not getting Manchurian triggered. And I think that love, being a complex, intense, and intricate neurological event involving introspective thinking and obsession with another person who becomes, it's very important that you ensure their survival and sexual desire and all of that, like what we know about love neurologically and have learned in the past 20, 25 years, makes it pretty valid, at least within the context of as irrational and unscientific a concept as a sleeper agent, that love could actually keep the original personality in a sleeper from triggering. So, like, it was contended by somebody like Trent Acosta on IO9 that, that's just silly. And I was like, no, actually it's not. It makes sense.
Of all the things about Volk, they think that's the most silly thing?
Well, okay. It sounds like you've got a laundry list.
I don't know. I mean, it's just everything about the way Star Trek handles different species as if they're really just minor variants of humans is kind of weird to me. Like they say that they gave Ash Tyler, like, they modified his DNA so it would pass a computer scan, like as if that's a small thing. Like, small differences, that's like person to person. If it's aliens shouldn't even have DNA.
Maybe not. You remember the TNG episode where there was like a
the search,
species?
Yeah.
The explanation behind
Actually,
it all, but
the chase.
The
chase.
Yeah, the chase. That was, I don't know. That's just the in-universe explanation. The fact that that everyone involved with the show decided this is what aliens look like. It seems like they could have gone a little further.
It's a production standpoint thing. I mean, like, you can't
it's easier to make
design
them look
an
human.
alien like the tardigrade that they encounter every episode. Like,
that's
I mean,
money. Yeah.
It takes time. Yeah. So production values determine, plot constraints determine what we eventually see. And it's easier for us to relate to if, for some reason, Bach was speaking English. I don't understand that exactly, and I don't understand still how the UT works. I know how it worked in Enterprise. I saw how it worked on Enterprise. Like,
we just need to accept
time.
that. You just can't think about the universal translator in these shows, and any of these shows.
Well, I'm not sure if we've ever discussed this, but, like, how do you think it works as a linguist? Is there a reasonable, like, maybe there's a brain thing and...
It would have to be a brain thing
because
we don't see any, we don't see people wearing anything in their ears or...
Well, which
I
is
don't know.
interesting because they have a handheld thing in Arena when Kirk fights the Gorn. He, like, understands the Gorn because of this little tube-like device. And so, like, maybe that's like the equivalent of a phaser rifle versus a normal phaser. Like, it's like extra intense interpretation for translation skills. We need the heavy-duty translator for this one. We got a reptile on our hands.
It's going to have a very different language.
Yeah.
Yes,
also, like,
calculations.
humans have a lot of languages, but all the alien species only have one language each.
Well, there are some explanations as to, like, further dialects and ancient variations of their own language.
They talk about
right.
that in the new Kelvin Trek movie.
Human languages
Romulan has so many dialects and stuff.
Human language on Earth, humans have unrelated multiple languages that aren't just dialects. But
That's right.
Aliens, they only ever have one culture and one dialect, or one language.
Okay, so what you're saying is basically Star Trek's portrayal of alien cultures, alien physiologies, and alien languages is monolithic and probably unrealistic.
The ironic thing is there's supposed to be a metaphor that helps us get through racism, but, like, this is the problem.
It's widespread.
Anyway, let's get to those episodes.
So what you're saying is the different species are more an illustration of racism than they are an actual mitigation of that fact. That's really
let's not go there too hard.
No, I think
we're not exactly qualified.
Somebody make at least once, and it's been made, and you're right. We're done. We're done here. We're all fine here. How are you? Remember that scene for a while? A New Hope with Han Solo. I think I've quoted it here before. So, here's something interesting to talk about. The Defiant, right? I'm not sure if you guys saw that video that Junk Ball Media put out, but he drew some really clear attention to the fact that Constitution class is not the same as what we saw in the Tholian Web or in A Mirror Darkly on Enterprise. It's a slightly different ship. Yeah.
Oh,
what
was it on Mirror Darkly?
It looks very similar. There are like changes to the saucer section and there are changes to the struts for the warp nacelles that are distinct. They're pretty distinct. They make it into
we haven't seen the ship. We've only seen a representation of it from the records. Maybe the records are out of date.
Well, actually, you know what? Now I've got an explanation. Now that I'm thinking of it, because the ship looked a certain way in Tholian Web. Then it went back in time. And it looked at the same way at that point on Enterprise. However, when Empress Sato, at the end of that episode, brings it back to Earth, it was probably something that she used to gain power. And one must imagine that she had it for a long time and that, she held it pretty tightly as she established her hegemony over the Terran Empire, and that during that time, she probably used her power to have it upgraded, have it improved. So what we see in Discovery may be the same ship, just refit. So okay.
All right.
Another explanation, though, is that they're in a totally different universe. Like that the Prime timeline is not our Prime timeline. It's
maybe it's a different mirror universe.
Maybe. That would be interesting, too. Well, wait. How did the one Defiant go to two separate mirror universes?
Maybe that's a Defiant from a different Prime universe that went into a different mirror universe.
Oh. Okay, so now we've got
but it's not the Prime universe Discovery came from.
We've got 4 different explanations. This is great. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, this might be a different mirror universe. That's a really interesting thought. I mean, it's similar, and we want to hope. I really want to hope that Georgiou is the daughter of Sato somehow, or like the granddaughter or something. But I think they're different Asian. They're different varieties of Asian. I'm probably a racist in not knowing all the distinctions. But
I mean, the actress is Chinese, but Georgiou is not a name in any known Asian language. I mean, nor is Sulu.
Richard, you've started something here. Now we have the opportunity to track down all the various forms of subtle racism that exist in Star Trek.
It's not
and
always
in ourselves. And in ourselves. Well, yeah, okay. It's subtle only for those of us who are really profoundly ignorant and now seeking to rectify that. Yeah. So, okay, we've got some explanations for the Defiant. Go ahead. What?
Yeah. I was going to say it's probably a nod to Sulu's actor's first name, George Takei.
His first name is George.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway.
That doesn't seem very. Maybe it is. Who knows? I think the gay love relationship between Culber and Stamets could be a relationship too. George Takei. I mean, for that matter.
Well, I don't know about that, but let's get on to the Defiant and the episode itself.
Yeah. So I actually think we've covered the Defiant specifically really well. But that cold open was really long. I like the kind of horror film look in the very beginning, the distinct look with the power and the flickering light. I mean, we don't really know what happened. Well, I don't know why sickbay is on that deck, why no one went.
No one was there.
It was exactly. You remember what I was talking about last week, that episode of Family Guy where the guy gets stuck with all the needles and then he halfway through everybody just ignoring him, he wakes up and he's like, why is everyone not calling someone? And then he falls back over. Like, why did someone not go to sickbay for all this time? Like, it's been 2 days.
Apparently the power was out for like hours and no one noticed.
The power was out for a long time. Yeah. Yeah, and why is that woman still wearing a Discovery uniform? This is the mirror universe. We had that whole song and dance about everybody changing uniforms. And for that matter, why did Culver still have his at the end of last episode? One must imagine the doctors to look different. I think it's just a plot hole. It's fine. I mean, yeah, maybe she's such an obscure, like, maybe he was too dedicated to his work to care unless it was absolutely necessary. And maybe she, works in the lower decks. And maybe for some reason sickbay is on the lowest deck. Something. Why was the power off? I don't know. It made for a really creepy scene. I got it. It looked really cool.
I think there must be multiple sick bays because later in the episode there are these two doctors that come in to help out with Stamets, and they weren't in that sick bay where the power was out and where there was a dead doctor sitting around for hours.
Well, Richard, seldom does anyone visit sick bay for any reason. So
yeah,
I mean,
remember what
not even the people who work there
sitting in their quarters.
Jack Hamlin said about sick bay.
Not their shift.
Yeah,
not their shift.
Navy Club.
Yeah.
Well,
so anyway.
Yeah.
That was a thing. And it wasn't that bad of a thing. I don't really care about that thing. I mean, it's just funny to notice. What's interesting also about that scene is I think we know what Stamets was seeing by the end of the episode. He was seeing the forest, and he's in the forest. I can see him in the forest through the trees. He's in the spore plane space.
Oh, yeah.
We see him meet other Stamets in later. Now, the palace, the mention of the palace and then Captain Tilly, like, I think he was seeing the mirror universe, just like Saru and Tilly discussed. I really was hoping, he was seeing multiple parallel realities or something, or some interconnected tissue plane where all of them were visible. That would have been cool. But, so anyway.
And did you see After Trek, the little preview for the next episode?
Yep. Yeah, I did.
They said they're going to go into the Emperor's palace.
Right. So maybe he's just seeing a little bit further into the future.
Something bad's going to happen in the palace. Someone's going to get wrecked.
Yeah. I also, this is very early to talk about this in the podcast, but what's his name? Lorca smirking at the end of the episode, right when he sees Giorgio and Burnham conversing. Like, why did he smile? Because he's from the mirror universe. Well, everybody's freaking talking about this theory. I don't want to add something that everybody else has said, but maybe he's from the mirror universe, and now he's going to get back and be able to finish his coup against the Emperor from the inside somehow. I mean, even though he's coming back in disgrace or something, whatever. That smirk was really interesting, though.
He smirked right after he saw Burnham bow, as in all right, she may still save us all because she's playing along.
Maybe.
But who knows?
I
don't know.
I did like how...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it was just such a small moment that you don't really think anything of it. And this show does like to do things with the obvious, first and foremost being, especially in this episode, that we learned that Tyler is Bach officially. But, that small moment was wonderful. And I think that's what it was, but who can be sure? We'll see in the next episode, in the end of the season 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think...
Go ahead.
I think it's really cool and really well acted, that scene at the very end when she is just so stunned by the fact that Giorgio is on the screen and I think it's interesting how she gets both of the salutes wrong. Like in the last episode, she did the same salute as everybody, and they're actually two separate salutes, in case you're paying attention. They mentioned this in After Trek. Like, one of them is you hit your chest and then you put your arm out, which is, Hail to the Empire, basically. And then the other one is you put your arm to your chest and you bow, which is Hail to the Emperor. And Burnham gets them both wrong. Like Burnham, she's subtle enough to where you don't the Imperial people don't really see it when she's on the transporter pad. Like she just kind of leaves her arm idly up, thinking that it's supposed to be there for just a little bit too long. And then here she completely doesn't realize that she's supposed to be doing it because her attention is so captured by Georgiou. She misses everyone else around her. And it's actually really hilarious. Like because this whole episode she's been doing such a damn good job of pretending to be a member of the universe. Like from moment one, she never slips up. She's a perfect actor, except for right then. She slips up in front of the most important person to do the acting properly for her I guess, former captain. So that sets up the drama of the next episode, like that, and then choosing to do her own thing with the getting the intelligence and stuff. So, which is interesting, right? Because I think this is a really great kind of mirror of Mirror, Mirror. In Mirror, Mirror, the Empire commissions the Enterprise, the ISS Enterprise, to destroy the Halcyon planet. And it's a planet. It starts with H. You're supposed to bomb it out. And the captain decides, for his own reasons, not to do that and to defer it. And it causes some friction with the crew, namely Spock. And Spock eventually, chases them down, figures out, oh, they're from another universe, whatever. So in this episode, Burnham is given orders by the Emperor to destroy the planet completely. She doesn't do it. She does her own thing, which, has them be able to survive, we hope, some of them at least, maybe all of them, who knows. And, that causes friction between her and the Emperor. So, I mean, there's kind of somebody could accuse this of oh, it's too similar. But I think with the writers, there's a very loving, gentle homage kind of thing that they're doing, where they're like, yeah, we know you loved that episode. We loved it too. Here, we're going to reference it. It's almost too close. It's almost as close as The Force Awakens was to A New Hope, but it's also pretty clear what their intent was. Hopefully they never encounter someone named Khan, because that's been done too many times. Yes, once was too many times. Yeah, I like the Imperial music. I think Firewolf is a great name for a metal band. Welcome to Firewolf! I think Vok, his voice, his English voice, kind of reminds me of Bane, and I also like that he's actually speaking English rather than Klingon. I noticed how dark the ship is, and then by extension how dark the show is. It's like we're living in the age of prestige television, post-Breaking Bad, post-Mad Men, when things to be interesting have to be subtle, gritty, grim, and dark. And the characters have to go through these horrific situations where they make ethically terrible choices because they have to. I mean, it's like infected Star Trek. And it's fine. I mean, I'm okay with it, I guess. It's interesting, but I'm glad the Orville also exists. I really am.
Yeah.
That's cheerful, happy, not too nuanced in a gritty, grim way. Yeah, I mean, hopefully this show goes through an evolution where the characters, as much as the setting for the show, not becomes less nuanced, but becomes more aligned with what we see in the original series. That would be interesting. And this is what they've said they're going to do for Season 2. They're going to introduce more people from the original series, or more references, and then it's also going to become more like the original series, which that would be great. I wouldn't mind.
Well, why didn't they do that in the first season?
Because then it's not interesting. Then they're there was a reviewer on Twitter. He said, I was worried that it was just going to be kind of a cookie-cutter update of the original series. We're just going to do kind of the same thing we did back then with, prettier colors and better production values. And on the other hand, I was worried that they would just make the show into something gritty, grim, and dark. And they did something between those two, perfectly between those two. They made it interesting because it's grim, gritty, and dark, but they made it enough like the original show to where you kind of see that it could turn into the original show. So, that's probably why they didn't do it, because the fans would have been bored and annoyed They'd have been like, I already watched the original series. I've got it all on DVD. I can go watch it again if I want. So that would be my explanation. I think it's reasonable. Yeah. I like not Saru. That's what I'm calling the slave. Saru.
Oh, yeah. We never figured out his name.
Well, he didn't have one. He was a slave. He said that, and she gave him the name Saru.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was born into this universe without a name. That's, how grim.
Kelpian. He probably, I don't think he even would have been called Kelpian because they're so genocidal and racist, the Terran Empire.
Do you think there's going to be a reckoning where Saru finds out that Michael Burnham was lying about there being a Kelpian on the Shenzhou?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think it's that important. And I could feel her compassion for him because there aren't many of him left in his own universe, and to think that the only one that she's met in this universe is a slave, like that might make him unhappy. I guess he might be happy that one of him is alive. But anyway, in fact, come to think of it, it's highly improbable. These kinds of similarities between the original universe and the mirror universe, where things are almost the same except slightly different in a very perpendicular way, like Burnham serving on the Shenzhou in both universes. There being a Shenzhou in both universes. There being a Discovery in both universes. There being a Saru in both universes who serves on the...
There shouldn't be the same people generation to generation. Like, think about how many billions of sperm go out and only one of them makes it. What's the chances that exactly the same one makes it in all these universes that are different in every way?
Right.
Well,
so we need some
explanation. Universe, so.
Yeah, we need some explanation for why it's so similar. I mean, the fact that it's distinct is interesting, and the fact that the baser instincts get expressed is interesting, and that needs some explanation, because we know from the Enterprise episodes that goes all the way back to Zephyr Cochrane. Get everything you can, kills the Vulcan when he arrives. It's just okay, well, and then Phlox says Shakespeare is equally grim in both universes. So, we know that Shakespeare is basically the same, so it must be something in the genetics of humanity, I guess. Aggression is a genetic trait to some extent, I think. So maybe it's just something that shifted there. But yeah, it is kind of improbable that we get the same people on the same ship. There must be some explanation for why it's so similar. I really want there to be one, other than the fact that it's just improbable and dumb. That would be boring.
We might get one. It looks like Stamets might have some stuff to reveal.
Yeah. What do you think he was saying about we have work to do? I'm glad you're here. What does that even mean?
I don't know. What I was interested in there is maybe they're going to get Stamets back, but it's going to be evil Stamets.
Oh, that would be annoying.
Yeah, that's not interesting.
I mean,
I want to know what...
It's not interesting by virtue of being something we can more or less predict. We can kind of tell what's going to happen there if Mirror Stamets takes over regular Stamets. It'll be just him trying to use the spore drive to get back to the mirror universe eventually, or to stay in the mirror universe, or to use it to have power in the mirror universe. All right, we know all of those. Unless they can come up with a different character motivation. Maybe Mirror Stamets is actually wise to some extent, or maybe he's not cruel because of what he's seen and his exposure to and experience of the other universes. I don't know. I mean,
That's what I think.
I like that they're meeting on the mycelial plane. That's really interesting that's happening. I want to know more. I want a whole scene of them just talking about stuff. And in fact, to quote IO9, this half of the season is already much better than the first. It's got smart ideas about how to use the mirror universe to explore these characters. I thought that was true. I thought that was really good. That's actually something from Trent Acosta that I will quote and agree with. She's usually just so grumpy. But, of course, the title of the episode, The Wolf Inside, is the shadow inside all of us. How long can we stay in this universe and pretend to be them without losing our soul, is what the voiceover is about in the beginning. I think...
Maybe it's also the firewolf within.
No. No. Wait. Yeah. Okay. The firewolf within Tyler. Yeah, I guess. I thought it was weird and interesting that seeing Mirror Vok triggered Tyler. I was like, okay, that's a thing.
So in that scene, after Burnham helps out the rebel band or whatever, then she's like, now you have to give me something. You got to tell me how you motivate all these diverse people to work together. Is that something you could tell someone in a sentence? Isn't that don't you write a dissertation about that?
Yeah, isn't that kind of a complex intracultural motivation thing? No, actually,
so just give me the secret. Is it going to be like it's drugs? What is she looking for?
They're like, we hate all humans. They hate us, so we banded together against all humans.
Yeah, it's not an answer that seems like it'll be very helpful in the regular universe.
No.
The Penske Files guys gave some interesting suggestions on this. They said that the real answer is the fact that the houses banded together. Actually, it was Wes. Wes thought of it. Wes said, when Vox says our houses needed to band together, that was the key for us being able to connect to other species in a way that worked. Like, we couldn't invite others in without uniting our houses. And so I think Burnham's going to go back with the knowledge of, well, both we need another enemy to fight, so whatever that is, that's not as helpful. And more importantly, she will now know there must be a way to help them unite the houses. And maybe she'll create some sort of a alliance with L'Rell and Vok to give them power in the Klingon Empire in exchange for them stopping the war, which would align with what we've seen in episodes from The Next Generation, from some of the political intrigue in DS9, there wasn't so much on Enterprise, but yeah, so it would be in universe. It would make sense.
So they're going to have to turn Ash Tyler back into Vok.
I mean, he is Vok. That's why he yelled in her face at the end.
Is he going to be able to lead the Klingons looking like a human?
How many people know that he's Vok? How many Klingons?
Well,
you've got to believe him.
We've got to turn L'Rell's scarf. We've got to turn L'Rell's scarf back into Vok's skin.
And then maybe he'll have to get the plastic surgery again and then flip back and forth a few more times until there's really nothing left of his skin.
Nothing left of L'Rell's scarf, you mean?
So After Trek, L'Rell, the lady who plays L'Rell, says that, and the guy who plays Ash Tyler, Shazad Latif, said that in those scenes you see flashes of where like they're having sex and he's being tortured or something, apparently they just fell asleep when they were filming those scenes because they had to just sit there for a really long time. So it's pretty funny watching this now to imagine that those are just some people who are asleep inside Klingon suits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tyler wasn't asleep, right? But Vok, L'Rell was. L'Rell with the Klingon boobs. I think the woman who plays L'Rell is so much more attractive than L'Rell. Like orders of magnitude.
Is it because she looks human?
Yeah, actually, that's probably the most of it. Klingons are not attractive, especially with big, heavy face pieces or whatever. But speaking of Vok, Latif is freaking skilled. Tyler, you want to talk about this? He was playing two characters. But then again, you know what?
Well, no.
He actually never had to appear as both characters in the same episode, except for this one.
No, he didn't. No.
Yeah. This is the only one.
Yeah, no. You could almost tell, if you were listening to just any of his lines, you can almost tell right away that, that's sort of how Vox sounds, but it's masked by the Klingon dialect and his delivery through all those prosthetics, mostly. But, yeah, especially when he looks and sees Vok in the mirror universe. You can hear it in Vok's voice. It's like, I think we figured it out before this episode wants to just explicitly tell us.
Well, so here's the thing.
And everyone else did, too. But he's pretty damn skilled, you're right. Shazad Latif, way to not spoil that.
Well, here's something,
That's a big problem these days.
It's changed my methodology on research for these episodes. Like, I want to know maybe the episode titles and maybe when they air. But I'm pretty sure from now on, I don't think I'm going to read other people's reviews, suppositions, suggestions. Like, I would have liked to have not had the idea offered to me by somebody months ago who figured it out. I would have liked to have figured it out on my own. I would have liked for this to have been a surprise, or at least something that I was questioning. And I want to figure it out on my own, appreciate it for myself, and I can go back and do this secondary literature work later. I can go back and read all these reviews or whatever if I want when I'm rewatching the show. So I think probably, maybe except for the Penske Files, because, man, I love those guys. I'm gonna probably stop reading all these reviews and stuff. Maybe I'll watch After Trek, because After Trek is actually really cool to know what's going on in production and how they talk to each other, and to get some suggestions about the next episode or what was going on in the minds of the writers. Like, that's interesting to me. But not having things figured out by other people that I really would like to have figured out. Because honestly, showing somebody this for the first time, I think they wouldn't have known about Vok. I think they might have been a little curious, but then they would have just been like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to go back to the Klingons for a couple episodes. Great. And then finally, eventually, they figure it out, and they're like, whoa, that was kind of cool. And that was something that I would have, I guess, figured out with, like, watching the original series, but this is new, huh? This is something, I mean, like, I eventually plan on my new girlfriend, who she's in process. I'm not sure that she's my girlfriend yet, but we're working on that. Date number 3. Going to date number 3 on Sunday.
Good for you, man.
She loves sci-fi. I want to show her Discovery, and I want to show it all in like one day, because then I get to watch it all in one day. And I think without the background of Trek and without the background noise of all these reviews and stuff. And thanks, Tyler. I heard you. It'll be an enjoyable experience, like as a plot, as a long form plot. Now they've made a lot of good points on Penske Files, etc. That like some of these episodes, you're kind of curious what's going to happen next, but it's not like a bum that you get on Lost. You know, they always ended with that bum sound, which really conveyed and captured the fact that like this is serious and dramatic, and I need to know what happens next. Like I want more of that kind of urgency from the plot structure. And then also that they make some good points around how it seems like they're trying to shove a lot of plot into a small space, and like it's just a bunch of stuff that happens, and we don't get to like really enjoy and experience the characters being with everything that happens, except they did in Despite Yourself in episode 10. So yeah, that's stuff I wanted to say. Sarek as the Prophet is really cool. I like how the beard is kind of, I guess it's just a Vulcan fashion statement here, no matter what kind of Vulcan you are. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're evil in this episode. I thought that was cool. Like it was a kind of messed up mirror, because we assume that anybody with a beard that means that they're evil, and we got it. Actually, I think Spock in the original series, that's the only clear example of somebody from the Mirror Universe who has a beard and who is clearly evil. You also get Saval has a beard in that episode, and he's not evil. He's forced to kind of work for the Terran Empire, but he eventually becomes a Resistance member and like commands the Enterprise as it gets destroyed.
Do you think some of them are born with beards?
That's a Richard question, Tyler. I feel like Richard really should have asked that question. But maybe that would be funny and really annoying for the woman, because it's like scratchy. Beards are scratchy.
Maybe that's why everyone's so irritable in the Mirror Universe.
All men are born with beards, and the beards scratch the vagina as they're coming out. And if the women are unhappy, the men are unhappy. Oh. So the men just like trying to correct. I think we figured it out. I mean, not at all.
Maybe that's what the Stamets are going to talk about in the next episode.
You know why everything is so shitty over here? Everybody's got beards. Yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of Stamets again, I thought the neural link between universes thing was interesting. I thought, like, he's using all of his neural metabolic energy to keep a portal between universes open. That's really interesting. It's almost as if Stamets, like, knew that things were going wrong, and he wanted a connection, because we know from parallels in The Next Generation that there's at least 286,000 different universes, and they've got to have a whole bunch of different quantum signatures. And you're right, Richard, this must be a different mirror universe. So, like, it's a very specific quantum signature, and they've got to remember the quantum. He's got to keep a connection to the quantum signature reality that we've got, like some way, some direct route to getting back there, because otherwise you've got all these different universes to navigate through, and that's the plot of Sliders, which I get how much I love the idea of that, but they're not going to do it. I'm pretty sure they're not going to do it. They're spending too much time in the mirror universe, and they're not going to spend any more time on other more interesting universes. They're just going to, bring us back and conclude the war, and that'll be the rest of the season. But so yeah, they would be lost. They would be lost in what Star Trek Paradigms calls the Tellurian, the many universe, the multiverse. But the fact that the brain is able to connect in that way, that's I don't know. Richard, you want to talk about that?
I don't know if I have much to say about it. It's cool. I mean, I guess if we believe in like the anthropic principle and the universe exists because consciousness is in it, and consciousness somehow creates the universe, so this kind of link of consciousness across the universe, something like that, that's pretty hand wavy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for trying. Nice. In the words of Soren, nice try. I think for some reason the thought occurred to me when Burnham showed up at the end, and maybe it's because of how the two Kiras related in the DS9 episode crossover. Like Kira really wanted to have lesbian sex with other Kira. Like Mirror Universe Kira really liked our Universe Kira and had a thing for her. So I was thinking it would be interesting and maybe cool from an LGBT perspective, especially like if Burnham turned out to be bi, like actually bi, or faux bi in order to get bi with Georgiou. Like maybe there's some kind of a romantic thing. So the faux bi wouldn't be as interesting because then it would be the same sort of thing that you get in DS9 where those who are lesbian are portrayed as kind of weird but acceptable to the extent that we can show them off as part of weird situations and circumstances, which would ultimately be like isolating and alienating to that community. Like, all right, we've been portrayed as marginalized again. Just like people were kind of pissed off, like, oh, you killed Culber because we're marginalizable. You didn't keep him around because, like, you don't really know what to do with him. But what's his name came out a long time, probably not on After Trek. Aaron Harberts is gay, and so we've got like the primary showrunner is gay, and it's great because it allows for an expression of even more diversity within the framework of Star Trek. Sure, most of the writers so far are white middle-class Americans. And even Harberts is still, to all view, a white middle-class American. So they might not get race right. They might not, be the most effective at portraying race in a diverse and genuinely caring and thoughtful way. But at least they're able to begin to portray I think they were beginning to portray the race thing. They were beginning to address that by having an Asian captain and a black captain and whatever. But the gay angle, that's or non-cisgendered people, whatever. They're trying to portray diversity in an interesting and an acceptable and an affirmative way, which I applaud them for that. So if they do that with Burnham, I hope she's actually to some extent genuinely attracted to Georgiou, because then that would mean, we've not just got a black woman who is the center of our Star Trek show. We've got a gay black woman. That would be even cooler.
Was there anything in the episode that hinted at a relationship between them, or is this conjecture?
It's total conjecture. It's total like what I think would be interesting. I mean, and I think it would be interesting not from a prurient kind of that would be hot sort of way, but like this would be a legitimately cool direction for the narrative to go in, is to have that show up for so many reasons, and that's why I went down that tangent. But let's see. Going back to Tyler, I think his real issue, Lieutenant Tyler, was hiding from himself what was happening to him and hiding as well from others. I think, like, there was a chance that Tyler could have, he even told her, like, the love that I have for you has helped me to stop this transformation. And, like, I think if he had told us, I think the nature of the Vought personality embedded underneath Tyler probably motivated him in really chaotic ways to where he wasn't able to admit that he was dealing with shit. Like, I black out occasionally, or, I did this stuff. But, like, if Lieutenant Tyler had been able to admit it and to not have to hide from himself or Burnham, they might have been able to work on that. And maybe that's why he's still alive. Maybe they're going to work on trying to revive Ash Tyler neurologically somehow. I don't think it's really possible at this point, and I think it might not be as interesting if Tyler came back, but Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it's possible. I think he has to come back because he hasn't really served an important plot point yet.
Tyler, you mean, or Vok?
Ash Tyler / Vok.
Oh, well, I know the character is going to be present in future episodes, but whether or not the personality Tyler comes back within that
you know,
actor.
I'm sure it's going to be like, it's going to be a lot of pathos and like, who am I really? And they're going to go back and forth, and, you know, I'm sure it's going to be that.
Yeah, I think in the tribunal, there might be some of that because they said there was going to be a tribunal. So I thought execution via transporter was interesting.
That was cool.
I mean, it's really not execution via transporter because that would have been like blowing your molecules across space. This was more spacing, as they call it in Babylon 5. And it's actually really realistic. Isn't it, Richard? Like, isn't that actually happen?
Like they sort of freeze and scream, and I guess we should see their eyes boiling, but we don't see that. It's a missed FX opportunity right there.
What, their eyes boiling?
Yeah, I would have liked to see that, but we didn't get to see that. It was also pretty cool when there's that moment when you don't know, is Michael Burnham really about to kill Ash Tyler right now? She's doing it herself. Is this really happening? That was a cool build-up. And then he goes into space and, of course, gets beamed to the Discovery.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice way of transferring the disc, too. And then I like Captain Saru. He's pretty decent as a captain. I think he deserves to have his own ship one day. That'd be really cool. Just not on this ship. I think, well, I don't know. I think Saru has to die at some point for Burnham to become captain. And I think Lorca is actually gonna show his true colors at some point in the next couple episodes. And Burnham is gonna at least become the first officer, which would be ironic if she starts the end. She ends the season in the same place as she was, except serving under Saru. So yeah, that's it almost it for my notes. Javad Iqbal, the one who was credited as playing Vok.
Javid,
whatever. Oh, Javid. That, as we know from After Trek, was the name of Shazad Latif's father. It's pretty cool. And so a quote came to me, as distanced as I want to be in the future about the critical response to these shows, to these episodes, especially like the next 4. A quote came to me. I think it's Benjamin Franklin originally, but I remember it as Lex Luthor from Smallville. He says, critics are our friends. They show us our faults. And it's through every experience that I've had with everybody who's, like, pissed off or, like, saying how bad that episode was, whatever, online. It threw it into a different perspective because they really care. They care enough to say something and to say, hey, this should be better. I want this to be better. This is how it would be if it were better. That's
very charitable.
You know, that's what I'm creating anyway. So, I mean, except if you want to rain toxic sludge on a film that you don't like by just saying that it's dumb and that it failed, which happened once. I will never forget that. But anyway, that guy was fine. He had his view, and it wasn't a view that I liked having on my podcast. What are you guys' other stuff you want to talk about for this episode?
Let me look through my notes. I really like the moment when Ash Tyler reveals himself to Burnham by saying Dr. Culver saw past his body into the heart and mind of a warrior, which is why I killed him. Cool. It's a good moment when they show Burnham's reaction.
Yeah, she was actually, some people say that she wasn't doing really well in that scene, but I think she was doing really excellent in her reaction.
I thought it was good.
Please,
let's see. In my notes I wrote, Stamets be trippin'. I'm glad I put that in my notes. That's really very useful now. So they have Master Sarek who can do mind melds, and they can do that to figure out what's up with Michael Burnham. How come they don't have him do that to Ash Tyler too? Figure out what's up with him. Like, now you've got an opportunity to figure out what's up with this crazy guy.
That's actually a great question. I don't know.
I guess they had to go fast. Oh, in that scene where Ash Tyler revealed himself to Michael Burnham, there's a lot of shaky cam. It was kind of a little bit disifying to watch. That's pretty much my notes.
I didn't really notice the camera work in this episode. I wasn't paying as close attention because Jonathan Frakes wasn't doing it. But then again,
he's going to be on After Trek next time.
Oh, yeah, I'm really excited about that. Him and Stamets, or him and Anthony Rapp, excuse me. They have real names. I forget about their real names sometimes. Hey, Tyler, what about you, man?
Remember that moment in After Trek where they're all talking about how it was weird that Doug Jones, in full prosthetic as Saru, was massaging Burnham's shoulders? When I watched that episode the second time, I couldn't not laugh.
It was kind of weird.
What Doug was doing under the prosthetics at that moment. I don't know. That's all I got. Everything else has already been said.
Well,
so I'd give this an 8 out of 10. Lots of fun, but ultimately, I'm not sure what the point of this episode was, other than to get us to the next one.
I mean, it was fun. I was entertained.
It was. That's how it got the 8.
I think that's the point. I think I give it. Yeah, I think I would agree. It's about an 8 out of 10. It wasn't super exemplary, but it was interesting and it was fun.
Yeah, my rating is a number. You guys can guess.
6.
I don't know. Maybe
100.
1,000.
Maybe. Just go with Richard. It's an 8. Sort of middle of the road. I want to know what happens next.
Yeah, the next episode looks interesting. I like the ship for the Emperor, and I like the Emperor's guard, and looks like it'll be fun.
Wow.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next round.